Welcome to Osmus Farm Supply's Ag Update. This week we have Devin, Bill, and Chad with us to discuss that dreaded word, replant, and the severity of it in our region. But first, let's discuss some post-emerge herbicide options we have in stock for you at Osmus Farm Supply.
This is a changing world and we need you to be flexible, and we do have options for weed control. Let's think about why we're using a residual herbicide in the first place. Typically called pre-emerge herbicides are things we try to get on the crop before it emerges. And the goal in that is to get the herbicide on before the weeds germinate. So we're keeping weeds from coming up as well. If you've missed that window and the soybeans have emerged, that probably means some weeds are germinated and will be emerging quickly as well. Products that cannot be put on after the soybeans have emerged would need to be replaced by products that can be put on. Typically, they're going to be in a Group 15 class of herbicide. Products we have available in our supply would be Anthem Max, Dual Magnum, Outlook, Perpetuo, Prefix, Sequence, Tavium, Warrant, and Warrant Ultra. Those will all give us the residual control that we're aiming for and keep the field clean until our post-emerge pass comes in that mid to late June, early July timeframe. Yes, let's keep in mind that when we're going to be spraying newly emerged soybeans at various stages, cotyledon, unifoliate, first trifoliate, you will probably see some response. I don't want to say burning, I don't want to say stunting, I don't want to say other words, but there will be some response, and the response to the herbicide being applied to the plant will be varied based on the humidity and temperature of the day and what other tank mix partners might be in there. Just be real cautious, ask a lot of questions. We have good answers on keeping weeds, of course, from coming up is our major goal here. And we have options for that.
Next, let's hear from Devin as he discusses the standing water issues that you're dealing with.
If I look at locally here on A16, it seems like as you go further south of A16, the impact wasn't as bad, but Rake really here was pretty close to the epicenter. But there were pockets again all over the place. So it varies widely, like you mentioned, from 4 to 7+ inches. And in those areas that got the rain, we've got standing water. So then the question is, okay, what does that mean? Well, most likely it does mean there'll be some replant in some of those ponded areas. The question really is how much of it is going to be. Factors that consider, one is time. 2 is temperature. Time is the biggest factor. How long is it going to be underwater? The one thing that is to our benefit is it's been a little bit cooler. Oxygen doesn't deplete as quick in the cooler temps, or the activity isn't as much, so that's a little bit in our favor. But generally speaking, you've got 1 to 4 days. The longer, the worse. So really, as anybody knows in evaluating replant and just crop stands, whenever you have something happen, you wait. And patience is what we exhibit, or what we have to put in place. And right now, we're too wet to do anything anyway. So we'll see how these ponds go down over the next 24, 48, 72 hours, and at that time we'll have a pretty good understanding of what we need to do. But really, the quicker they go down, the better for us, obviously. Once we have the water down, then we can go in and we can start to evaluate, whether it's corn or beans. In most cases, a lot of it has not emerged. There are some cornfields that have emerged, so we can dig where the seeds aren't out of the ground yet and take a look, see if they're seeming viable. If they're squishy and mushy, that's not good. If they still have a little bit of integrity to them, then we wait and see. But reality is, Michelle, we got a lot of water in a short period of time. There will be some replant. Now we're just trying to figure out what is the extent going to be of that.
Lastly, Bill and Chad will discuss soybean progress. and the replant situations that you may be faced with in the Iowa-Minnesota region.
Correct. I actually, like I discussed earlier with you, me and Bill both farm ourselves, and I actually walked out to an intake Sunday evening to check it, and actually by the time I got back to the ditch, my feet were very, very cold, and that's a good sign. There's a second thing, a lot of these beans are still emerging, or certainly still in the cotyledon stage. Whenever the cotyledon's still there, the bean is feeding off the cotyledon. That makes it a much more viable, hardy plant, much more just like corn when it's just spiking through and stuff and hasn't leaked out. It does give you a bigger window for that seed to survive underwater. Having said that, today we're full sunlight. We're talking 80 degrees. That sunlight's going to reflect off the water. It's going to heat it up very quickly. I think if the water hasn't receded here, probably by this AM hour, certainly this afternoon, probably going to be an area that's going to need to be dealt with if it's big enough.
Thank you for viewing Osmus Farm Supply's Ag Update. We'll see you next time.